Hi everybody, okay, welcome back. We're looking today at Jeremy Duff, Elements of New Testament Greek. We're in chapter 5, looking at the examples on page 57, the practice examples, practice 5.2. We've been looking at adjectives and particularly the attributive use of the adjective, where an adjective, remember in that the attributive use describes an attribute of a noun that it is accompanying or qualifying. And we've got 3 examples here just to help you to do that. And the challenge, as I mentioned at the end of the previous video, is to make sure that we're getting the adjective in the correct case and number and gender when we're going from English into Greek. So we'll have to check that one out at the end, example 10. But we'll do examples 1 and 2 first, a bit easier going from Greek into English. Let's take a look at these first. So, terumen ton agathon monon. Terumen ton agathon monon. And so let's have a look first at this sentence. What should we be doing before we do anything else? The answer is you should find the verb. Always translate the verb first. It gives structure to everything else. And the verb, just take a second. Where's the verb in this sentence? Very easy. It's right here. And it comes from the verb tereo, meaning, oh goodness, meaning I keep. I keep. Notice that it's an eo verb. And an eo verb, the e does funny things to the vowels at the start of the ending. It combines with short vowels to produce a diphthong. If there's a long vowel, then the epsilon just disappears. So that accounts for why this is terumen, not teromen. So think tero, teres, tere, terumen. That's first person plural, meaning we keep. Or perhaps better, we are keeping. Don't worry too much about that distinction, but just do be aware of it and always have both possibilities in your mind. And if anything, lean slightly towards this one. We'll come to that in future weeks and months. But we are keeping, that's the verb. Look for a subject. Well, are you expecting to find a subject if the verb is a first person plural? Probably not, and at least not at this stage of the course. We might do it at a later stage. So verb, subject. The next thing you look for is the object. The object, so you're looking for something, a noun in the accusative. Can you find a noun in the accusative? Of course you can, right over here. And as I mentioned, when we're translating sentences with adjectives in them, and you'll always have sentences with adjectives in them from this point onwards, try and nail the nouns before you do the adjectives, especially if there are both in the same bit of the sentence. It'll just make it easier for you to find your way around. So where is the noun where's the article that goes with this noun? It's right here. So ton nomon. Nomon comes from nomos, meaning law. Nomos, nomon, puts it in an accusative singular, which is what you're expecting if you're looking for the object of the verb. So we are keeping the law. Ton being, of course, the accusative singular article in the masculine. Ho, ton, tuto, hoi, tus, ton, tois. So we are keeping the law, and then here's the adjective in the expected place in the middle between the article and its noun, qualifying this. And agathon, if you have been getting on with the vocab at the end of this chapter, you will know that agathon comes from agathos, meaning good. So agathos, agathon, accusative singular. We are keeping the good law. Notice that the article and its noun and its attributive adjective are all in the same case, accusative, and all in the same number, singular. And they need to be because of the principle of matching, which is why you get adjectives declining in all 3 genders, masculine, feminine, and neuter, because they need to go with nouns that are masculine, feminine, and neuter. So we keep, or perhaps we are keeping, the good law. That's the first one. Second, okay, ho adelphos, ho hagios, akue. Ho adelphos, ho hagios, akue. What do we do first? You know already because you've already found it. You find the verb. The verb is, round of applause, well done. Akue comes from akuo, meaning I hear. So akuo, akues, akue, 1, 2, 3, third person singular, which is he, she, or it hears. There we are. He, she, it hears, or possibly is hearing, or is listening to. Depends on the context. We'll come to that in a second. So he, she, or it hears or is listening to. That's the verb. Next thing you're going to look for is there a subject, which will be a noun in the nominative. And if there's a noun in the nominative, well, it wouldn't be too surprised if there were, would you? Because he, she, or it could be the subject that's built into the verb could be replaced by something else. And can you find a noun in the nominative anywhere? Yes, you can. You can find ho adelphos, which is, of course, the brother. So you've done the verb, you've done the subject. The brother is going to take the place of that. So it's the brother hears or is hearing or is listening to. Is there anything else in the sentence? The answer is yes, there is. There's this. And notice this is adjective, hagios, with an accompanying article. So the brother, the holy, both in the nominative, singular, just like the noun that it goes with. That's how you know they go together. Hagios goes with the brother, and you can tell because they're in the same case and they're the same number. So the brother, the holy is how you'd gloss it. Remember that I encourage you, when you're thinking about the attributive use of the adjective in Greek, to think about the equivalent in English. It will help you to spot it more easily. And this is not at all uncommon. The brother, the holy. Meaning, of course, is how we'd actually write it in English. The holy brother hears or is hearing or is listening to. Maybe get rid of the to because there's no object or indirect object. So the holy brother is listening, or the holy brother hears, or something of that sort is how you translate this sentence. So that's number 1. Number 2. Now number 10, a little bit more tricky, going from English into Greek. So let's just take this apart. As always, we'll go for the verb first. Seeks, the verb I seek, is zeteo. Let's write that down just so you got it there. Zeteo. Now how are we going to conjugate that? Zeteo, eo verb, so we're not going to include that mechanically. We need to remember the slight tweak to the endings that you get with eo verbs or epsilon verbs. Zeto, zetes, zete, zetumen, zetete, zetusin. Zeto, we want the third person singular, don't we? Because it's the crowd, third person singular, it's seeking. So it's zeto, zetes, zete. So the crowd seeks the good law. So seeks. So we've done the verb, now let's do the subject. The crowd wants to be in the nominative, and it wants to be singular. Nominative because it's the subject of the verb, singular because there's only one of it. And so we want crowd is, you know what crowd is? Of course you do. Oh, los. And we want the crowd, and therefore we want ho, ochlos, nominative, masculine, singular, nominative, singular, and these have to match. That's why they're both nominative, singular. The crowd seeks the only God. Well, this is now the object of the verb. So this is where we need to think a bit more carefully. What case does the object of the verb need to go in? Nominative is for the subject of the verb. The object of the verb wants to go in the, thank you very much, accusative case. All this lot wants to be accusative, including that word. Okay. Also, the God. Well, let's translate that first. Ho theos. Again, it's fairly straightforward, but we don't want to write ho theos because we want this. So it's ho ton, accusative, ton, and God, theos, theon, over here, theon. Now, what is the Greek word for only? Greek word for only, you get this at the end of the chapter, is monos. Monos. And remember that this will come in masculine and feminine and neuter forms. Monos, monon, monu, monu, mono, and so on in masculine. Moner, monen, mones, and so on in the feminine. Monon, monon, and so on in the neuter. Now what do we want here? What gender, what number, and what case? Well, it wants to be masculine because God is masculine. It wants to be singular because there's only one of him. And it wants to be accusative. So don't go slapping monos in there because you get it wrong. We want ton, mon, on, theon. So ho oklos, subject in the nominative, zete, the verb seeks, ton, monon, theon. How else could we have written the only God? ton, monon, theon is fine. What's the other way we could have written it? We could, of course, have written ton, theon, ton, monon. And if you wrote that down, then it's perfectly reasonable. It might not be the answer that Duff's got at the back of the book, but it's perfectly right and perfectly fair. You might think that this will be used a bit more often because it's just fewer words, and it's actually a bit less ambiguous if you've got articles and adjectives floating around the sentence. It's not always obvious where they, which nouns they go with. And so probably for that reason, this might be more common, but either is fine. So there we are, that's question 10. Have a crack at the other 7 questions or so, and then we'll see you in the next video where we're going to take a bit of a sideways step to look at the verb aimi, meaning I am, which is necessary here in order to move on to the second use of adjectives, the predicative use of adjectives, where we're saying the man is wise or the woman is wise. Of course, we need the verb is in order to do that. So that's why we'll be doing that in section 5.3. See you in the next video for that. In the meantime, 20 minutes a day, 30 minutes a day. Please pray for me that I'll be able to do the same, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.